Pranav. So, yeah. Okay. We have a sideline here in the Sicilian. So, okay, we have some trades. And black is doing fine structurally, but he has some concrete problems to solve. If he would castle, that would hang this pawn, so he goes a6. But now Jeffrey goes rook ac1, and perhaps maybe just take a rook c1, taking control over the c file. Goes h4, that allows Pranav to stabilize. Now he goes knight b6, an excellent move, hitting the queen. Okay, maybe knight c4 if you take... There are some tricks. Like rook b8, rook b2 perhaps. So let's see what Pranav will do here. I feel like h4 was slightly careless. Okay, knight c4 played. Good move by... Oh, it's Pranav with white against Jeffrey. Alright, so let's see what happens if white takes. I don't see an immediate win for black. But it looks tricky. Okay, Pranav decides to take up the gauntlet and take the pawn. Queen takes h6. Rook a8, but okay, you go queen back. And he takes on a2, but bishop c3 stabilizes the queen side. Defends everything very nicely. Queen to b8. Okay, but you can trade and go rook a1. And, oh sorry, and rook a1. And if you ever take rook a1, nice move. Okay, we will see a trade here, but white should definitely be better in the resulting endgame. Because takes, rook b1 I expect, then you can bring the king over. And this will be a tough endgame for Jeffrey to hold. He's down a pawn. Not a lot of fun to defend. h5, nice move by Pranav, gaining space on the king side. But still very difficult to convert. So let's see how he will try to do it. He goes knight e1, nice move. He wants to go knight to d3, where the knight is nicely defending everything. Knight to d3 played. Yeah, so how will Jeffrey try to create counterplay here? Maybe king c6, king b5, but it doesn't really do anything. Maybe you just have to sit. Tough position for Jeffrey. He's down a pawn. Okay, so king c6, bishop b4 played. Pranav wants to trade off the bishops. So after trade king b5, the knight swings back to d3 and defends this pawn. So Jeffrey can decide to keep the bishops on the board. It's also a good move. Bishop d8 could be a good move. Also bishop b6 is there to hit the pawn. He's taking his time here. But yeah, a one pawn advantage for Pranav. I think at some point you do want to bring in the king. Bishop f8 played. And Jeffrey sacrifices the pawn. Interesting. And bishop b6. This is now getting completely out of hand. The pawn on d4 cannot be defended. And if d4 falls, then b2 is going to be weak. And black is very active. All of black's pieces are active. This bishop on g7 is completely offside. He's captured the pawn on g7. But that pawn is kind of irrelevant because it will take forever for white to create a passer on the king side. His king is kind of stuck on the back rank. Don't go here because that allows a fork. So Pranav has let this get out of control. And it's really anyone's game at this point. So let's see what's going to happen. Yeah, you cannot defend the pawn on d4. And then things are going to get pretty wild. So let's see what Pranav is going to do. He's also down half a minute on the clock. Yeah, okay. A bishop h6, but okay, you take on d4, bishop f4. Okay, but now Jeffrey can take on b2. I guess you want to take with the bishop, keeping more pieces on the board. Then next up you move your king out of the way, move the bishop, and your rook is free to move again. If you take with the knight, that allows bishop c1. Wait, if you take with the bishop, bishop c1, there's rook a1. And after the trade, this is still unpleasant for white because the pawn on e5 is weak and the pass d pawn. He goes knight a5. Interesting. I wonder what his idea is. Maybe he wants to put an... Okay, he wants to go king c4. That's his idea. He wants to hit the knight, so then he can take the pawn. Perhaps he just missed that he could take the pawn. He thought like... Wait. Why are my arrows not disappearing? Okay. Maybe he just missed that after bishop c1, there's still rook a1. So knight f5 played g4, king c4, rook d1, and knight to b3. Looking tough for Pranav. He's all tangled up. And once again, like these pawns on the king side are not going anywhere. I guess next up, Jeffrey is going to take the pawn. There's no way to further improve the position. And after a trade, this d pawn will get very dangerous. I guess you do have to take. Because if black goes bishop c3, your knight can easily get stuck. He goes g5. Okay, trying to create counterplay on the king side. Bishop c3. Yeah, tough. King f3 perhaps, but yeah, once again, there's no counterplay. Bishop e3 play, d4 I guess now by Jeffrey. And then, but then how do you proceed after, let's say, bishop f4? Okay, d4 played, hitting the bishop, bishop f4. Maybe you just go for the trade. Okay, bishop d2, he goes for this trade. Maybe he wants to stick with the king, and king here and push this forward. That's a nice idea. Okay, takes on d3, takes the knight. Okay, the bishop's now under attack. He wants to go king c2. King c2 and push the d pawn forward. Very nice idea here by Jeffrey. The rook's gotta move. And here comes the d pawn. Still not over though. White will have to sacrifice his bishop. But Jeffrey wants more. Rook e4, I guess. He wants to take the bishop and then promote this pawn. So he gets a full queen. So rook e4. He takes on e3 now. He takes on e5 first. So f4. Jeffrey's eyes are on the bishop. That's what he wants to take. But eventually, I think d2 is good here. But that's a full rook. That's a little bit too much. So that is game over. And Pernev, he was almost flagging there. Okay, he's made a move with 0.1 second, but it's not going to matter. He's down a full rook. Keeps making moves with 0.2 seconds. Incredible. a4. Once again with 0.2 seconds. How does he do it? But against Jeffrey down rook, you're going to have a tough time. So Jeffrey wins. He moves to 6 out of 6. Let's see who else we have. So Hikaru is duking it out against Alexander Bordnik. Tough game here. I think it's just a draw. Both sides cannot do anything. Or actually, here comes the rook and Hikaru's getting active. He can take one of these two pawns. Maybe a draw with correct play. Rook g4, nice move, taking the pawn and defending the pawn. That pawn, okay, rook a6, stopping this pawn from marching forward. King c5, rook e4, hitting the pawn. Note that Bordnik is also very, very low on the clock, only 2 seconds. Knight c6 check, king moves and king d5, knight at d4. Now he wants to push the king back, push this pawn forward, and knight on d4 does a good job of making sure that the rook cannot go to e2. He goes e6. If you take the rook e7, the pawn cannot be stopped. Hikaru is getting a new queen, and that should be game. a2, you just lose that pawn. And Hikaru takes down Bordnik, moves to 5.5 out of 6. So, yeah. Okay, let's see who we still have. So, we have Razalov versus Azikhan. Razalov is on 4 points. So, he needs a win here to get back in contention, but he's in a lost position here. But you never know. Okay, trades down into an endgame, but this should be lost. Black will just slowly push up the board, and there's just nothing White can do. e5. Yeah, and here comes e4. And the knight and the bishop and the two pawns are just way too strong for White to ever do anything. So, yeah, that's going to be a win here for Azikhan. Okay, it's taking his time to convert. e4 comes through eventually. But yeah, it's gonna, maybe Black will take his time to win this, but eventually the win is not in doubt. a2 is also likely now gonna drop off. Here comes the king. d4 cannot be stopped eventually. He gives a check, but bishop e5. Here comes the d pawn. d4. Okay. White is pre-moving. I mean, it's not gonna make a difference anyway. That is a free rook. So, yeah. Razalov goes down in round number 6, 4 out of 6. Tough tournament situation. And Azikhan, another GM from Azerbaijan, moves to 5 out of 6 and is still in full contention. Let's see what games are still going on. Okay, I think round number 6 comes to an end. So round number 7 is about to start. And let's have a very quick look at the standings. Okay. There we go. We see the drop. We see the drop zone. Paravian, Dredge, and Jeffrey Zhang are still on 6 out of 6. Then we have Hikaru and Exotic Princess, Badur Jobava on 5.5 out of 6. So let's have a look at the games. So Dropstone, the leader, is duking it out against Hikaru. He goes for the Scotch 2 Knights. A very solid opening. I guess he just wants to play it safe, not take any risks against Hikaru. He's fine with a draw here and then hope to win the other games. Okay. So eventually, what very often happens here is that white takes twice on f6, black takes with the queen first, and we'll have a very boring endgame. He goes bishop f4. If you take the knight, I take your rook. And after this trade, I mean, the position is just very, very boring. Very difficult for either side to create any sort of chances here. So, let's see what will happen here. Queen d6. Okay, we see a trade. Knight a4. I would say white is slightly better though. Rook e1 is a move here, hitting the queen, then c4, trying to soften up the pawns. So Hikaru is not entirely out of the woods. So I think Dropstone can be pretty happy with the outcome of the opening. He doesn't have any risk as his slightly better pawn structure, and yeah, so. And he's up a minute on the clock, so Hikaru is clearly struggling here. He goes d4, but this pawn now becomes a little bit loose. White can even offer a queen trade, because after the trade, the pawn at d4 is very difficult to protect. Rook f4 is an idea to hit the pawn. He goes queen g5, interesting move. But yeah, it definitely looks unpleasant for Hikaru, and he's already half a point back. So, I mean, a draw is not the end of the world for him here. But if he would lose this game, that'd be very tough. So let's see what he's going to come up with here. Okay, bishop d5. c3. I guess you have to... okay, h6 played. Queen h4 is what I expect, or queen back. More of a solid approach, queen h4. Okay, we see trade on c3. Hikaru should be fine now, because, okay, he has these split pawns, but the pawn on d4 was his main weakness. Rook b4 hitting the queen. I think the queen has to go back here. There's no other square. Yeah, offering the queen trade. I think Hikaru has the trade. And perhaps a5 to simplify the position. Okay, bishop b6. Perhaps he wants to put the knight on d5. White is still slightly for choice here, but it's not a lot. Knight a4. Maybe occupying the c5 square. Knight at d7 by Hikaru, but that's a little bit passive. Okay, rook to c1, hitting the pawn. Bishop d5, holding it all together. Maybe bishop b2, bishop f3 is a nice idea. So, yeah. Dropstone is definitely still better, but can he create any real problems here for Hikaru? Rook e1, another nice move. He wants to go rook e7, hit the knight, g6 by Hikaru, stopping bishop f5 and making some luft for the king. Rook e7, hitting the knight. Rook to d8, defending it. This... I mean, the pawn on g2 is a little bit of a target. White has to be slightly careful here that his pieces do not become misplaced. Black has some ideas here like rook e6, shutting down the rook and then trapping it with king to f8. And Hikaru has fully caught up on the clock. He's up a couple seconds. So let's see how this game is going to proceed. I think it should be equal. Maybe rook d4, hitting the bishop. If the bishop moves to rook to d2. Okay, king f8. Now white has to be careful. Bishop e6 was an idea, so he goes rook back. c5. Hikaru wants to go c4, get rid of his weakness, get rid of his weak c pawn. While he goes rook c1 to prevent that. I feel like c5 was a mistake, because now this pawn becomes very loose. Rook c8. Rook d3. Okay, rook d3, bishop e6. You hold everything together. But still, this pawn is loose. White wants to swing the rook over and attack the pawn, which looks tough to deal with. Yeah, rook c3. How are you not losing the pawn here? Hikaru has to fight for a draw here. Very, very tough. Okay, he goes a5. So his idea is that after takes, and take, he has a4. And if white takes, the pawn on a2 cannot be protected. And otherwise b3 will be very weak. So that should be a draw. So, I mean, white can take, but that should lead to a draw. So maybe white has to do something else. But, okay, he takes. That's going to take everything. a4, good move. Okay, this is an immediate draw. White has to go bishop c4 indeed to keep the game going. But after takes on rook b2, for example, the game should be a draw. Because your king will always be stuck defending this pawn. You put the rook behind the pawn, and white cannot make progress, really. You can bring the king around the e6, and white can really make progress. Okay, he goes for this plan, rook c3, nice move. Making sure the king cannot step up. King f6 is the usual way to defend here. And if white goes king g1, you go rook c2. c6, king e6. Yeah, white cannot make progress. So so h4 is played. I guess you just keep sitting around. Maybe you start checking. But the problem for white is that if you ever bring the king to the center or the queen side, then all your pawns will drop off. So you can't really do that. So this should just be a draw. He goes g5, fixing the pawns. Okay, h5. I guess draw. I don't like this decision. Take on f7. Maybe he is banking on the fact that this pawn endgame is just a draw. I mean, it looks like a draw. Okay, the pawn endgame should be a draw. But still, I guess you should take. Because rook c8, you just lose the pawn. There's nothing else. You have to take on f7. Or wait. He might consider check, but then you go king back. Okay, so he takes. Rook takes c6 is forced. f6. King d5. Rook g6. Tricky. No, but you can just take in king e6. That's an immediate draw. So yeah, this game is going to end in a draw. Just taking king e6. King g3. And yeah, you take the pawn. h5 even. Everything draws here. You can also just wait around. King f6 played by Hikaru. King f7. Yeah, it's just a draw. King e7, king f5, f7, g3, you go king g7, and there's nothing white can do. King g7. And white is the opposition, sort of, but he cannot enter. King e6, king g6, black grabs the opposition. Or actually just like this. h5, right. So white can take, and we go into this pawn game, g4, king f4, but I'm sure Hikaru knows how to draw this. Just keep the king in front. The only importance here was not to go king g6 right away, because then after takes, white is the opposition. And yeah, I mean, we missed the last couple of games, last couple of moves of the game, but it all ends in a draw. So Hikaru draws against Dropstone. Dropstone moves to 6.5 out of 7. Hikaru's on 6 out of 7. Not the end of the world, but he is still, you know, behind. And it's not always easy to be in the hunt. He probably needs to win. If he wins the last couple of games, he still wins Title Tuesday. We see that okay, Jeffrey Zhang has won his game. Are there still any games ongoing? Okay, there's Badur Jobava against Svirdov. You will see Badur sacrificing the exchange, but this h-pawn is going to be way too strong. You just take on g5, bishop f4, right, and this pawn is just marching down the board. Here the pawn comes, king g6, and that's going to be all she wrote. Yeah, just okay, bishop f6, wants to put the bishop g5, bishop f6, and there we go. Badur Jobava wins his game. He moves to 6.5 out of 7, behind Jeffrey Zhang, who takes the sole lead with 7 out of 7. Let's see who is still playing. Okay, we have Newborn Now against Pur Akbala Amireza, but this should just be, this is a dead draw. Because it's rook and 1 pawn versus rook and 1 pawn. Neither side can do anything. So, yeah, I guess they will keep shuffling around, but nothing is really gonna happen here, realistically. Yeah, and there we go. That's for repetition, yeah. So yeah, they both draw. Not really the result both players needed. They're on 5.5 out of 7. 1 game ongoing in this round. Okay, we have a queen and bishop versus queen. Should be a draw, but there's still some tricks left, especially with no time on the clock. Okay. Both sides can still hang their queen somehow, even though that is fairly difficult for black, especially because the bishop is controlling, is defending the queen. But you never know. King f5. Black has to be careful here. Queen g3. Wait, there's no trick. Check here. Bishop d6. Wait, what? He hangs the bishop. Wait, what? Wait, why did he do that? Wait, now he hangs his queen. What? And why doesn't see it? Check, king e7. Queen f6 played. But this, practically speaking, this is a win. Because there's no way black can defend this with no time on the clock. Also, his king is completely misplaced. King e7, and there's no more checks. Because you check here, I go, wait, queen f4. King e7. King e7 is the move. Right, and now he finds it. Queen c7, you trade off the queens. Otherwise, white gets a new queen, so that's all she wrote. So insane. Black hung his bishop and then his queen. Like 2 moves in a row. Tough, tough. So that wraps up round number 7. Round number 8 starts any moment now. So let's watch Jeffrey Zhang, the leader, taking on Dropstone. So we see 4. And we see a really low pass. And we see open Spanish. So yeah, if we have a look at the standings, we see that Jeffrey Zhang is in the sole lead with 7 out of 7. Followed by Paravian and Badur Jabava on 6.5 out of 7. And then we have a pack of players on 6 out of 7. So Jeffrey goes for this line with Queen e2 and Bishop e3. Trading off the bishops. Let's see what Dropstone will do. I guess this is a theoretical line. Jeffrey is playing very, very fast. Knight at d2. Okay, he takes on d2. I guess you have to recapture with the queen, I suppose. We will probably see a trade here, but it is slightly more comfortable for white. Because d5 is always going to be a slight target. The bishop on e6 is slightly loose. White can always go a4 to soften up the pawns on the queen side. So, yeah. If black trades off everything, it's not that easy. Okay, you have queen d7. I guess you take everything and queen d7. That's one way to do it. Queen d6 is also an option. Okay, so he takes. You don't want to go queen. Yeah, so queen d7, defending the bishop. Because if rook e1, you go bishop f7. So a4 is played. Like I said, trying to soften up the pawns on the queen side. c6. Okay, he's holding everything together. But this could be tricky if all of the pieces get traded off and we only have bishops on the board. Because all of these pawns are on light squares. But it's still pretty far in the future. So bishop f7 is played. Maybe bishop c2, because, yeah, this pawn is no longer weak. Bishop c2. Rook e8 perhaps, hitting the queen. Makes a lot of sense. He goes to auto rook, queen d4. Right, so we're sort of getting to what I was saying. Like, I think white is going to go b4 and a5 at some point. Fixing this weakness on the a6 square. b4 makes a lot of sense here for white. Stopping c5 from black. Queen b6. Okay, hitting the pawn on a6, which is tough to defend. b8 you take. Okay, queen b6 is a very direct approach. b4 was a bit more methodical, but this also makes a lot of sense. Because how do you defend the pawn? Rook a8. Rook a8 actually doesn't... it actually does work, but it's very passive. Goes rook b8. Okay, so if white takes on a6, what has he planned? I wonder, maybe queen c5? And if takes, maybe move the bishop? I don't know, but Jeffrey's moved his queen here. The only way to justify his last move is to take the pawn. Queen c5 by Dropstone. So if he gets another move, he could try to trap the queen, but he's sacrificed the pawn. He's down a pawn now. He's attacking b2 though. You cannot go b4 because that hangs c3, so queen a3. But after takes, okay, you take with the pawn. The pawns are split, but you do get a passed a pawn. Yeah, so Jeffrey up a pawn, rook c5, hitting the pawn, rook e3, but d4, hitting the rook. You cannot take this. And rook h3, nice move, hitting this pawn. So h6 has likely got to be played. And let's see what Jeffrey will do there. I think Dropstone should be fine here. Or g6 with the same purpose, blocking this attack. And yeah, I think c3 is just too weak. So goes rook to c1. I guess you take. I mean, you can take here, also an option. Let's see what Dropstone is gonna do. He's down a minute on the clock, not a huge factor if we get into a drawn endgame, but you never know. He also has tricky moves like rook to b8. Because then if white takes, there's take, and rook b1. rook e8, same idea. If white takes, white's going to take here. Deflect the rook from the first rank, and then rook e1 is checkmate. So rook d3 played by Jeffrey. Okay, so he's hitting the pawn on d4. Okay, Jeffrey up a lot of time on the clock. Black should be fine. He takes on c3, f3. He wants to bring in the king. Maybe rook a8, but there's a4. Once again, black should be fine, but there's no immediate way to draw this. And it could get tricky. Like this pawn on c3 is weak. So rook e2, bishop d1. Okay. But maybe rook a2, but then you take the pawn. Drop zone getting very low on the clock. Jeffrey still has 149 on his clock. So looking pretty good for Jeffrey. Let's see what drops. Okay, check, but king f2, this doesn't do a whole lot, but he has an nasty pin. If black gets... No, you can go here, because then white takes with check. So let's see what Jeffrey will do. Tricky position. Because there's pins all over the place, but he has 135 to figure it out. And black's also hitting this pawn. I don't know how relevant that is, because then white takes here. And that endgame should be pretty good, because the rook is kind of off place, and then you can push the a-pawn up the board. But let's see what Jeffrey will do. He's in the tank here. And as we speak, okay, so rook d8 check and king g7, and rook d7 was pre-moved. Which is a bit risky, because bishop e8 was a move. Oh, terrible blunder. Check, and you lose the rook. So he decides not to take the rook, but now he's just down a piece. You can take on h7, for example. So king g7. Aha, he had rook d5. And then after trade, these two pawns become too strong. Very difficult. But yeah, now it's just over. Looking for by Jeffrey, check. Aha, and rook e1, very solid, yeah. Trading off some pieces. Okay, you take on c3 and the game is over. And Jeffrey wins. Jeffrey moves to 8 out of 8. A perfect start for him. With 3 more to go. Let's see who's still playing. Okay, we have Hikaru versus Exotic Princess, but my feeling is that this should be a draw, but it's tricky. If Hikaru somehow manages to get up the board, he should be winning, but question is how to do that. So, Jobava is waiting. Okay. King h6, forces king g4. I think no progress can be made here. King g7 is already looking very close to a threefold. Yeah, shuffling around, but I don't think he can make a move. Just bishop c7. Bishop h4, weird decision. Wait. I mean, maybe you can sneak the bishop. Oh, but king g... Wait, does this actually work? Wait a second. Bishop c1 played by Hikaru. Bishop c3. Wait, but now it's just a draw. You take an e5. Wait, the evil bar went all the way up there. He had king g4, bishop c3, king g5. Oh, and you just sacrificed the pawn. Hikaru missed his chance there, and now the game is just going to end in a draw. The bishop is stuck here. Cannot move that would allow here. So Jobava just moving back and forth. And yeah, Hikaru's going to draw this game. He's going to be on 6.5 out of 8. That's not good enough. He will be 1.5 points back. Very difficult for him to catch Jeffrey. So king g4, yeah, but Jobava just keeps waiting. And there's nothing to be done. This game is just going to end in a draw. King e4. But yeah, you just wait, and white cannot do anything. Yeah. So king d3, bishop f6 might, and there we have it. There we have a draw. So Jobava on 7 out of 8, still very much in contention, but Hikaru 1.5 points back. He needs to win the rest of the game, and then still it might not be enough. So let's see, last couple of games of the round. Okay, white is winning here. White is up a bishop and a pawn, and the pawn is actually about to promote. So, and then black would have to give up the rook, so this is completely lost for black. C5, there's no stalemate tricks, I believe. Yeah, king still can move. So black can resign, but decides not to. And resigns one move before the end. Okay. So yeah, that wraps up round number 8. Let's take a very, very quick look at the standings. We see that Jeffrey Zhang is still on a perfect score on 8 out of 8, and he's followed by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 players on 7 out of 8. Hikaru's 1.5 points back. Very difficult for him now to catch Jeffrey. But don't go anywhere, guys. We will be right back after the break with more Title Tuesday action. And welcome back everyone to the last 3 rounds of Title Tuesday. I'm your host GM Benjamin Bok, bringing you all the action. And round number 9 is already underway. Let's see who Jeffrey Zhang is playing. He is taking on Badur Jobava with the black pieces. Badur's going for the same opening that Pernav went for. So yeah, Badur going for a different approach here, not pushing c3 and d4, but keeping his pawn solid here in the center. White has a little bit more space, and knight on d7 is slightly misplaced. Maybe we'll see knight back to b8 to c6. It's an idea, maybe d5, push in the center. So yeah, let's see what Jeffrey will come up with. I think a fairly even position so far, but maybe a little bit more pleasant for white. So I can hop to c4 at some point and attack the pawn d6. It's kind of a must-win game for Jobava. He's 1 point behind. So if he wants to win the tournament, he has to win this game. At this point, Jeffrey is probably fine with a draw, but of course, you play every game to win. So he goes queen c7 and b6. Perhaps he wants to go a6 and b5. If you go a6 here, you always allow a5. You can never play b5 due to en passant. So bishop g3, putting pressure on the pawn on d6. Perhaps at some point he's going to push e5 through. But yeah, it looks slightly more pleasant for white, but not that easy to come up with a plan. He goes knight e3. Okay, expect a6 now, I guess, from Jeffrey to go b5. Or maybe d5, push in the center. But the position should be fairly even. So a6, b3, and b5. Now Jobava can open up the a file at any point if he wants, so I guess he doesn't want to do so right away, because black can contest the open file, but he wants to keep this option open. Black doesn't really want to go b4. Okay, so for that reason he goes rook a2, knight to b6. Okay, now he trades. So white can grab the open file with both the rooks. He goes e5. Okay, interesting. If you take, I take back with my knight and hit your queen. So knight d5, black is threatening not that, but queen knight c3, hitting the queen and the rook. So let's see what Badur will do. What Badur will do here. What? Wait, the board is. Wait. Oh. For some reason, board was completely off. There we go. My bad, guys. Okay, and there we go, there we go. Wait. Okay, so, yeah. Okay, there we go. Some technical difficulties there. But yeah, we get some sort of friend structure. I think this should be pleasant for Jeffrey. I expect c4 here. And it's difficult for white to really launch an attack on the king side. While black is... well, black can throw everything forward on the queen side. So go c4 and b4. Okay. Rook a4 is played, g4. Okay, rook a8. So Jeffrey's taking control over the a file, but still it's not the end of the world. You can go rook a2, but after queen d1, you can't really make further progress. So he goes rook a2. I guess queen d1. Goes rook c2, queen a6. I guess black is happy to trade, but it's not that easy. Like, imagine all the heavy pieces get traded off. How does black make progress? So he goes queen a2. Jubava wants to keep the queens on the board. Jeffrey goes rook a3. He wants to put pressure on the pawn on c3. But another idea here is to go knight a8, knight to b6, knight a4 to put pressure on the pawn on c3 that way. So let's see if Jeffrey will go for it. Yep, there goes the knight. It looks weird putting the knight in the corner, but the knight is headed for the a4 square. Knight b6, knight a4 is his idea. Rook e2. Threatening some. Aha, knight b6, knight c4. No, wait, it doesn't work. Doesn't work. Because if you take an a3, then the rook on e2 hangs in the end. So queen a1 played. Jeffrey is happy with the trade. This endgame is very uncomfortable for Badur. Like knight b6, knight a4 is coming. You can't go queen c2, then you lose on the spot at rook a2. So we see a trade. Badur only 8 seconds. Jeffrey 38. I think Jeffrey has very good chance to win another game. Rook a3 is excellent here. Knight a4. Everything is under attack. Rook a4 is actually the best. Rook c2, there's bishop takes b4. So you force bishop d2. If you go knight a4 right away, then there's rook c2. So rook a3 pretty much wins the pawn. If you go bishop d2, it goes knight a4, but this allows rook c2. Rook a3, bishop d2. White is still hanging on, and it's not that easy for Jeffrey to break through. 16 seconds for Jeffrey. He's lost the threat a little bit. Bishop e7, bishop d2. Okay. How? Okay, f5 takes... G takes it. Okay, it takes with the bishop. H4 by Badur, maybe H5, trying to fix the pawns on the king's side. King f8, H5, nice move. King G3, G5. Badur's creating counterplay on the king side. F5, okay, take. Then H6 is weak. Rook f1, and then Rook f2, creating a pin this way. Rook c1, you give a check. King up. Rook f2, king back. Guess if you're Jeffrey, you're not too... You can't be too unhappy with a draw. But let's see. Will Jeffrey take the draw? He's generally a very... Oh, and king e6. Badur's going for it. Bishop e7. Oh, but now he's losing a piece because there's rook f8. Tough. Badur was not happy with a draw because he was 1 point back. So he decided to go for the win. But this could backfire. Because bishop 4. Now the knight lands on e4, hitting this. Knight f6 is there. Guess you can take on here. King f5, king f7. Everything is nicely blockaded. Okay, take on c3, bishop e5, knight back. Now this pawn is free to move. Yeah, c3, here she comes. And knight d6, and that's going to be all she wrote. The rook is lost. And yeah, Jeffrey wins another game. He moves to 9 out of 9, and he puts Badur Jubava out of contention. Badur's on 7 out of 9. Even if he wins the last 2, that's not going to be enough. So let's see what games we have going on. Hikaru. Can Hikaru close the gap? Okay, he's up a pawn, but it should be a draw. He's allowed b4. Not sure how clever it is. He's playing Rasmus Svane. These two have fought a lot of battles in Title Tuesday. But yeah, the problem for black is that he can't make a move. Knight back. Aha, and he goes for the immediate draw. You cannot stop king b5 and taking this pawn. So yeah, Hikaru conceding one draw too many, and it's already mathematically impossible for him at this point to catch Jeffrey. Don't go I mean, a6 might be okay, but that's the one thing you want to be very careful of, because then you might checkmate yourself. Okay, just king b8, just walk out of there. And yeah, it's a draw. Hikaru also on 7 out of 9. It's not going to be his week. It looks to be the week of Jeffrey Zhang, who's still on a perfect score. But let's see. Aha, that does wrap up round number 9. Yeah, that does wrap up round number 9. So if we have a very quick look at the standings, we see that Jeffrey Zhang is still on a perfect score with 9 out of 9. Then we have Conrad Holt on 8 out of 9. And Kazar Bazada from Azerbaijan on 8 out of 9. So I think one of those 3 players will probably win the tournament this week. But who knows? Dredge or Kazar Bazada is going to play Jeffrey in the next round. So that's going to be the game to look out for. One of them has to beat Jeffrey to have a chance to catch him. But still, Jeffrey's tiebreak should be better. So even if Jeffrey wins, if Jeffrey scores 1 out of 2 in the next 2 games, he will probably win the tournament. So let's see if he can pull it off. I think he has won Title Tuesday in the past. But, yeah. Of course, Title Tuesday is very tough to win for any GM. Let's see. Okay, and we are off. So Jeffrey with the white pieces. Okay, he's playing Christopher Yu. So I assume he has already played Dredge and Khazar. We have some sort of, I guess you can call this a sort of Ragozin, but it's a good version for white. Because usually how this line goes is, let's say after knight f3, d5, bishop g5, black goes h6. And this bishop has to make a decision. He has to take an f6, because after bishop h4, black can take here. Now the problem after e3 is after h6, I just draw my bishop back. And so I have my pawn out of the chain. This pawn is defended. I did not have to take yet, so this bishop is still locked in. And he goes bishop e7. So this transposes into a queen's gambit decline, but now it's just down a tempo. So we see rook c1, bishop h4, takes, bishop d3, castles in c5. Now here Jeffrey has a lot of options. He can take and then try to play against the hanging pawns. So let's see if he will do that. Knight e5, also an option. That's what Jeffrey goes for. The knight is very strong in the center. Knight c6, putting pressure on the knight and on the center. f4 probably hangs a pawn. Queen f3 is an option. Maybe bishop b1, because this pawn is under attack. f4 is played. Okay, this... If takes, I guess he wants to take here and here, but then he does give up his strong knight on e5. So let's see. What he will do. Okay, so he decides to trade on c6 and go knight e2, but it does feel like a slight mistake, because now e3 is kind of backwards. You have this knight on d4, but black also has his trumps. Yeah, he's offering a bishop trade, and after take, pawn on e3 becomes tough to defend. There's rook e1. If takes queen e2, you walk into a pin. So yeah. He takes on e7 and queen f3. So what is his idea after take? So take, he's down a pawn though, but if the knight moves, there's rook c7, some compensation. Not that easy. Black can go knight g4 and knight f6 to defend everything. Knight c4 also an option. Guess you're not too worried about this trade. So yeah, not a great start for Jeffrey. But a draw is not the end of the world. He goes knight c4, I guess b3 here. Kicking the knight, and then rook c7. White suddenly does get very active there with both the rooks. So I think b3 is the way to go. Like, this is just a draw if you take twice, because of rook c8. But b3 could be interesting. Kicking the knight and then rook c7. So let's see what Jeffrey will come up with. Jeffrey is taking his time here. But I'd assume that... Okay, he takes on c4. Black has to take. Okay, black's got to take. What is he thinking about? Oh, Jeffrey offered a draw. And it was accepted. Yeah, I mean, I guess the position is equal. But if you're Christopher Yu and you want to have a chance to win the tournament, he had to play on. But okay. So yeah, that's Jeffrey Zhang moves to 9.5 out of 10. Let's see how the players behind him will do. Let's watch Conrad Holt versus Khazar. So it looks like Khazar is winning here. Okay, if you take the queen, I take here. This is just game over. And if you take here, I go queen a7. This pawn is going to promote. You lose your rook. And white is just up way too much material. He has a queen and a rook versus a knight. Black has these pawns, but those should be pretty easy to round up. You can just give up your rook for the knight. And you take up b4 in the next move. Okay, knight c3 hitting the rook. But really anything is winning here. Goes rook d8, he goes for a checkmating attack. And this is just over. So Khazar still has a chance to catch Jeffrey. Queen f8, queen g7 is going to be checkmate on the next move. And there we go. Conrad Holt resigns. So Kazar moves to 9 out of 10. If he wins the next... I don't know if he's played Jeffrey yet. But... But if he hasn't, then he still has a chance to catch him. But also regardless. So let's go ahead and have a look at Dropstone's game. Dropstone can come within 1 point of Jeffrey, but he's having a tough game here against Alexis Chess from the Czech Republic. Okay, Queen c6 is played. He's going for some tricks, but I guess White can just take either with the pawn or the rook. Rook takes looks very solid. Queen a4. Maybe even takes. Okay, b3 played, hitting the knight. Even better. If the knight moves back, then you take. Oh, and your rook is also hanging. Literally everything is hanging. So Dropstone is completely collapsing here, and he's probably just gonna lose against Alexis Chess. Okay, so knight b6. I guess just pawn takes d5. You take an f8. Trade off everything, and it's just gonna be an easy win. He takes on d5. Dropstone plays queen f6 with 1 second on the clock, but if you just take and queen e4, for example, it's just really game over. There's nothing to be done. So yeah, queen e4 played, okay, but the rook stays on the board. There was really no reason not to take the rook g4. I mean, he's winning regardless. He's opening up the h file now. Okay, this comes with check, so king b2, knight f6. Okay, queen is under attack. White should be winning queen c4. Nice move, trying to push through d6. King of7, but d6 is checkmate. King back, check. King here, and then check here. So d6 is... it's not precise. D6 is winning now. Queen e6, there will be checkmate. Rook takes g7 is just winning. Yeah, goes for it. Okay, if this, they're still taking queen f8. Maybe just swing in the other rook. Rook dg1 looks... Sorry, rook dg1 looks very good. Yeah. Takes. Queen f7 can now not be stopped. He goes knight d7, but still queen g8 is winning. Queen f8, queen e6, knight f8, d7, game over. Queen g8, yeah, there we go. Knight f8, d7. And, I mean, that's going to be all she wrote. Okay, he's playing on till checkmate here, but of course it's not going to save him. I guess out of pure frustration. But yeah, Alex Chess wins the game and moves to 8.5 out of 10. Let's see who else we have. Let's watch Hikaru. So Hikaru is playing his longtime rival Gadakomsky. Hikaru is down a pawn, but it's about the quality of the pawns. This pawn on c5 is very far advanced. And there it goes. Okay, hitting. Wait, take. Oh, rook c5. Rook c5, and that's game over. Yeah, black is losing the rook. So Hikaru is going to win this game. He's going to move to 8 out of 10, but of course there's no way he can catch Jeffrey. But yeah, he does beat Gadakomsky. So let's see, still a couple games ongoing. We have Vidit playing Razulov. Vidit completely winning, because after e2 you just go rook e7, king b5, king f3, c4, but this doesn't do anything. Just go rook f8, check, go rook a8 even, or that, and black's down a rook, and Vidit wins the game. So yeah, still last couple of games going on. We have Rachmanov versus Durar Bailey. This is a draw, but maybe, I was gonna say maybe black can try and he wins on time. Durar Bailey moves to 7.5 out of 10. And yeah, I think, okay, so that wraps up round number 10. If we have a very quick look at the standings, we see that Jeffrey Zhang is leading the tournament with 9.5 out of 10. Then we have Kazar on 9 out of 10 and Alex Chess on 8.5 out of 10. So those players are fighting for the top places. Then we have a bunch of people on 8 out of 10, but they are out of contention for first place. So yeah, I assume Jeffrey has played Kazar already. Otherwise, he probably would have played him in the last round. But let's see. Games are starting shortly. So let's see. And so yeah, last round's gonna start shortly. So for those of you who are wondering why I'm not playing because I'm commentating. Simple as that. But is this game still... I think round number 10 is done, and there we go. Round number 11 should be underway. Wait, what? Wait. And... Wait, Jeffrey already drew? Wait, what is happening? Where's Jeffrey's game? Wait. Okay, this is... I can't see... Where's Jeffrey's game? But I'm not seeing it. Where... I mean, we have to watch Jeffrey's game. He's leading the tournament. I don't think he's finished yet. But you never know. Okay, I'll put on another game in the meantime. We'll put on Kazaro's game. Kazar is in second place, playing against Hikaru. So let's see. Hikaru's position looks a bit cramped. Like, he's seriously lacking space here. This is not looking good. Okay, he gets a bit more... Okay, bishop g4 now perhaps by Hikaru. Creating a pin. You can take the pawn, but then rook f8 will come, creating pressure on the knight here. So I feel like white should be better. Maybe move like queen d3 has got to be played. Although black is not doing too bad after all those pieces are traded. Yeah, I can't get the Jeffrey game for some reason. I don't know what the problem is. Maybe he already made a quick draw, but it's not showing in this. No, he's still playing. Okay, wait, what happens if I close? Oh, there we go. This is the Jeffrey game. Okay. Some technical difficulties there, but we do finally get to see Jeffrey's game. So yeah, Alex Chess, if he wins this game, he will probably not catch Jeffrey. The only way Jeffrey does not win is if he loses and Kazar wins. Because Jeffrey's tiebreak is much better than the rest of the field, as we see. He has his first tiebreaker is 62.5. And black is 53.5. Jeffrey should have pretty good compensation here, though, so maybe he will win this last game as well. So let's see. He has the two bishops. c5, c4 is an option. I think this is looking tough for white, because if you go knight e3, there's always bishop f4 lurking. And yeah, c5, c4 will be annoying to deal with black, who is Alex Chess. Let me try to find out. Alex Chess is... It is Alexei Kislinski. Okay, so yeah. That is him. Okay, so yeah, he played king to b1, so now he can play knight e3 because bishop b4 is no longer a pin. But I think c5 is a good move here. Oh, they just drew. Okay, I mean, that makes sense. Jeffrey has a good position, but this pretty much guarantees him first. Maybe he had a quick look at Kazar's game. Kazar will have to beat Hikaru, of all people, to catch Jeffrey, and that is of course a very difficult task. So let's see. But c6 is weak. a5 is also under attack, because Hikaru guards the pawn, bishop a3, and c5. If you take, you get into all sorts of pins. If you take here, you hang b3, but maybe you can do it anyway. Take here, take, and rook c5. Check, king h3. So, yeah, c5 is played by Hikaru. Okay, queen takes a5. I guess queen takes b3 now, but you take on c5. Wait, Hikaru might be in trouble, because I don't see a trick. Queen a2, king h3. And he could easily just be down a pawn. But then again, if we have a look, I mean, I think it's impossible for Jeffrey to be caught in the standings. Bishop f8 is played by Hikaru. Okay, now white could go for queen b5, going into an endgame. After rook b8, you can take the pawn. But I guess, so yeah. Bishop takes c5. Okay, but now you take on b3, and now you're in a pin. This is tricky. Queen a6, hitting the rook, hitting the pawn. But let's see. I guess there's nothing more than a draw. Like takes, check. King g7, check. King g8. It's just a draw. Right, there's nothing more for white, nothing more for black, I don't think. You can give a check, but king here. And if takes... are you forced to... Okay, goes rook e8. Aha, Hikaru taking a lot of risk here. Because there's move like queen f1 defending everything. I think he just had to go for the draw. There's rook c8, but then there's bishop b3. Will Khazar win this game? If Khazar wins, he catches Jeffrey in points, but I think it's not going to be enough in terms of tiebreak. But let's see. Bishop b3 is forced now. Queen a6. Okay, now Hikaru has to take, I would think. If takes, king h8. Check bishop g7, you win. White has to take on c8 first. Because then if takes, this is a draw. Here, 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 here. Hikaru has a check, but you go king up, check. You don't go king up because that leads to checkmate. But I guess you just go king back and it's a draw. He has 30 seconds to figure out. Okay, he takes on c8. Takes, but queen takes c6. This is a draw. Check here. Oh wait, but bishop f8. There's still queen f8. Hikaru can keep the game going, but that'd be extremely risky. Queen f6. Queen f7. Okay, goes for the win. Queen e7. Okay, but now he takes a pawn. He has 3 pawns. Wait, but you take an a5? Take an a5? Aren't the passers too strong? g4? Wait, we just have... There's too many passers. Take an f5? Wait, f5 was a mistake, but h5 now? It feels... And Hikaru flags. Hikaru flags. Damn. So Khazar does catch Jeffrey in the standings. Once again, I don't think he will be able... his tiebreak is probably worse, but we'll find out. Let's see if it was right from Jeffrey to accept that draw, or if it was a big mistake. I think there's no chance, but we'll find out. We'll find out. So let's see. There's still a couple games going on. Rasmus Fane will probably have to defend a rook and knight endgame versus a rook. h6. Okay. Black can go knight f8 and pick up the pawn sooner or later. Check. You just go king e5, for example. King g6. Okay, check. Okay, queens. But yeah, now we get this endgame. King f7. Sooner or... Okay, knight d7. So this will... I guess, but the tournament's already over, so there's really no rage quitting. This should be a draw, but Alexei Sarana is going to try for the full 50 moves. I guarantee you guys that. King e3. Wait, this is tricky. White is very close to the rim. Wait, rook g4 and rook g5. King h4. You have to go here. Rook f5, only move to keep the game going. Right, okay, king. You make sure the king does not get pushed to the rim, but it's tricky. King g2. Rook a3, okay. Goes rook there. Check. King g3. Okay, 7. Check. Good move. King e3. Okay, now he wants to go. Now king g4. You step out of it. Rook f7. Good move. King's escaping. Rook f5. Okay, king there. Knight e5. Rook f5. Rook f. Here. Okay, let's see how he can try. Like here allows check. King d5. Now the king steps back. Yeah, if your king is not stuck on the... Okay, check. Maybe you go king f4. King e3. I don't know how many moves they need until this game is declared a draw by 50 moves. But okay, yeah, they keep shuffling back and forth. King d4. Check here. d7, king e4. Should be a draw, but still all to fight for. Maybe just move the rook over. Yeah, but he does a good job. What you want to do is you want to keep your rook behind. Now you just step to the side and there's nothing he can do. If he goes king here, you give a check. So very important to keep the king behind. The rook behind, sorry. And it's a draw by 50 moves. So that wraps up this game between Alexei Sarana and Rasmus Svane. There's still any games going on. Oh, and that wraps up the tournament. So Jeffrey Zhang wins this week Title Tuesday with a score of 10 out of 11. Kazar comes in second, also with 10 out of 11, but he has the worst tiebreak. Then in third place, we have Christopher Yu with 9 out of 11. And Vidiches also scored 9 out of 11, so he also gets a prize. So yeah, that wraps up this week for Title Tuesday. I hope you all enjoyed the show. If you enjoy my commentary, feel free to follow me on my Twitch channel. My link is right below. And yeah, guys, we are gonna wrap up. We will see you guys again tomorrow, I think, for the World Championship. But have a great rest of your day, guys. And we will see you later.